This is Bill Simmons once again on Pacific Coast Broadband Connect. With me today, Garret Matsuura. You're back from Guadalupe. Well, thank you for joining us today, Garret.
My pleasure, Bill.
Just in order of recapping, tell us about Guadalupe.
Guadalupe is this cool little town here on the central coast of California. We are west of Santa Maria, about 7,500 or so people here per the last census. And we're between Santa Maria and the ocean. It's a great little agricultural farming community that we feel is definitely on the rise.
Are you in Santa Barbara County or San Luis Obispo County? You're right on the borderline there.
We are the northernmost city in Santa Barbara County.
Yeah. And when people talk between the two counties, they both talk about Guadalupe. You're right there. And so it's good to know that you get the benefits of both those conversations.
Absolutely.
So there has been a lot of talk about broadband in Guadalupe. What's that about?
There has, and it's pretty exciting stuff. We've got this fantastic train that goes right through town. And with broadband, especially in terms of fiber, you really need the train tracks right there. It's a nice straight shot. Guadalupe doesn't currently enjoy the greatest high capacity bandwidth broadband internet services here on the Central Coast. Pretty much we've got some DSL, and we have partial coverage by Charter. Or Spectrum, excuse me. And if you talk to different people in the town, the level of service is, we'll say it can be inconsistent. And so the idea that having true fiber access as an alternative to just a cable or DSL connection is pretty interesting to a lot of people in this town. There are a number of businesses in the downtown corridor that don't have access to broadband. We've got elementary schools, or an elementary school and a middle school and a new middle school coming in the next couple years. And I know that there's going to be some 5G connectivity, but ultimately having this whole pandemic has really focused on the need for better broadband here on the Central Coast, specifically here in Guadalupe. And it's necessary. Broadband can be talked about as that fourth utility, and I think the city is ripe for that to arrive.
One of the interesting things I find in the Guadalupe conversation is a lot of the people you're coming across now are transplants from the city. These, there's people that actually have been working and living in LA, but they're showing up in Guadalupe. That's telling us something, right?
It is. Guadalupe is a perfect example, really, of why people move to the Central Coast. It's quality of life. We've got the weather, the beaches right there, and the people here, especially in Guadalupe, are just so kind and welcoming. I can't speak highly enough of the city itself. With the idea of transplants from other areas, I myself am a transplant. Although I moved up here in '94, it's been really interesting to see, because Guadalupe has got this phenomenal history. It dates back to the 1800s, although the incorporation of the city was more recent. In fact, this year, at the beginning of August, the city will be celebrating its 75th anniversary of its incorporation. So it's been around here for quite a while. So Guadalupe has got this amazing mix of this influx of transplants, newer transplants, as well as this incredible cultural history. And so it's so interesting to see old mixing with new, and how technology like broadband can really benefit all of that.
So the last time we talked, Garret, you were just in the formation stages of a broadband task force within Guadalupe. And so that's been poking along, and I kind of was interested in just knowing how's that going. Are there any lessons learned, and what can you share with us there?
Well, yeah, the task force, we've had a couple meetings now so far, and we've got a lot of enthusiasm. We've got a project management board set up, and you know, the thing about any task force really is that the people who tend to jump in and get involved are doing it with passion, but they're also doing it while they're busy with other stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's, I don't know if there's so much of a lesson to be learned with that, but it's just a kind of a recognition that you've got a lot of people that want to help, that want to do things, but also know that those are the people that are going to be active in service clubs, in extracurricular activities with their families and kids, and things like that. So time is definitely a factor, and I think that while it's important to be able to push for deadlines, either hard deadlines or soft deadlines, it's important to be a little bit flexible, because when you have a small core of people who are enthusiastic about things, you have to be respectful of their time. Nobody's getting paid for this. It's something that people are doing because there's interest, and they want to see a betterment of the town.
Well, I guess one of the themes too is civic entrepreneurship. It's we've gone through COVID. We have all of broadband has risen to the top as a key issue. We have all of these conversations taking place at the state, county, federal level. You can almost hear the dump trucks backing up with funding. We really have got to get all of the cats together and talk about communities like Guadalupe. You know, it,
Absolutely.
you know, you're not going to be shovel ready for any of this opportunity or investment if you don't do what you're doing, and that is just getting the community to start looking not only at itself, but at what's happening outside as well.
Sure. And it's important too to remember for us as a task force that just because we're knowledgeable about, and of course we can continue to learn. I'm not saying that we're experts, but as knowledgeable as we are about broadband and how it can affect our daily lives and the lives of business people here in town, the local government, we have to remember that the general population may not have been exposed to that same knowledge base.
Mhm.
And so there is absolutely an aspect of education to the general population that we need to be able to do. Um, people will, it's my belief that people are going to buy into the idea of broadband when they see how it impacts them at that personal level. It's when it's not this kind of pie in the sky, oh, I heard about broadband.
Yeah.
It's, oh, hey, broadband can make it easier for my kids to do their online classes, or it's going to make it easier for me to send business documents back and forth to the office, whether or not that's in Santa Maria, San Luis Obispo, or Los Angeles, San
Right.
Francisco, New York. When you've got a stable, high capacity, high speed connection, that opens up so many doors, telemedicine, education. I mean, the list goes on and on.
So last question, and it's a big one. You know, we're at a very unique time for broadband, and Guadalupe is very unique in that you're doing things now that a lot of the other communities they haven't organized. They're not doing it yet. And that is really having the conversation, getting mobilized, and starting to move in a direction. Do you have any words of counsel to other communities? Of just what to try to pass on this imperative? Anything that you can tell them that you've learned that it's kind of like Nike, just do it. You have any sage advice that you could pass on to others?
I would say be a good listener, because when you listen to your peers, when you listen to the business community, and you hear one person say something over here and you hear another person say something over there, when you're a good listener, you can help be a bridge, and you can help people that might not otherwise have connected. If you can help build those connections, it isn't about being in charge of something or necessarily leading a charge to do something. To be able to be a communication bridge and to get people together, when the community starts to come together to push a project forward, it's significantly different than if you have a large private vendor come in and say, hey, we're gonna do this for you. Here you go.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, if you have kids, you tell the kids that they're going to appreciate something more if they are earning it themselves, if they're working for it. And I think that that type of lesson, it's one that's well learned and remembered, even as, you know, I'm now, well, kind of an adult, I guess. Maturity wise, not always, but I think that's something really important, is to be that good listener, be that communicator, or be a bridge to that communication. So initiatives like this become not just one person shouting into the wind, but it becomes a community effort. And I think it's going to build a stronger foundation and really improve the chances of its future success.
So Garrett, you really touched on one of my favorite topics. The next time we talk, and we do this, we're going to talk about the L word. I want to just talk about civic leadership. And it's a lot more than listening, but it obviously takes a lot of listening to be able to exercise that role. And that is a role that's worth talking about. So I appreciate you bringing up that perspective, and we'll talk again. That's
It's my
it for
pleasure.
now.
Thank you.
And thank you, Garrett, for being with us. We'll look forward to our next conversation. And thank you once again for joining us on Pacific Coast Broadband Connect. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Take care. Thank you.